So I want to help you folks out there that are really concerned about all the fraud that's going on with emails, with texting, with phones. Seems like every day there's something new. I mean, I don't know about you, but every day I get email scams, email fraud, I get phone call frauds, phone scams, I get texts and messaging scams and frauds. Drives you nuts, and it can cause a lot of damage. I actually have two family members and two friends of mine that have been frauded and scammed, and their lives have been made very difficult, and it's very frustrating. There's a lot of old folks being taken advantage on, being taken advantage of out there. And that really bothers me. So I want to share some thoughts and ideas on how you might help protect yourself and others you care about with some of these frauds and scams. Okay, so I want to go through a presentation that I used to present this stuff. And again, these are just my opinions, my ideas. It's from working with other people and their examples. If you're not interested in this, please don't watch it because, there's no need for that. But if you care about fraud and scam and you want to look for some cool ideas and tips and tricks to think about, please do watch. And let's get started. So let me share my presentation. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this Beware Online Warfare Survival Tips, because it's more or less what's going on. It's kind of like a war, kind of like a battle. But don't think of it like you're fighting, literally fighting a war. Just keep in mind that there's a lot of bad people out there that are doing a lot of bad things to a lot of good people. Okay, so beware. So let me get started with some of this. The silent online destroyer, and what I mean by that is that there are bot farms out there right now that are set up. They set up these shops to actually to cause problems for you and others. And online fraud is skyrocketing. From all the stats I've been reading and putting together, on average, 87% of all Americans are affected by fraud. That's a lot of people, right? 98% of Americans, that's almost 100% with online access, are affected by fraud in some way or another. And that, from what I read, it's not like they've been frauded and they've lost money. It's just that they're affected by fraud, meaning that it's in their inbox, it's in their text box, it's in on their phone messages or whatever. That's almost 100% of people in this country. It's just horrific. Online fraud is a multi-billion-dollar business. There are a lot of people making a lot of money in very shady ways from ripping people off. And, many scams do destroy people's lives. It's proven. It's terrible. So that's why I want to hopefully give you some tips and tricks to think about with this. Why it matters. The not so fun facts. Most people are aware of fraud. I mean, most of us are, right? We're aware of it. Most people don't seem to care about the fraud. Try to talk to younger folks about it. Most people in general don't care, of course, until it happens to you, right? Just like anything else. Until somebody is affected, then it does matter. The fundamental fix, though, is actually quite easy. There's a lot of things you can do to protect yourself. So just keep that in mind. Examples. Here are some examples of recent frauds to watch out for. Okay. I'm going to show you some examples. Okay. But first, let me talk about the fix. Think of it like the martial arts. Okay, so when you're into martial arts, in judo or kung fu or tai chi or whatever, those are the things that I've practiced. But the principle is protecting yourself and protecting others. But there are also other mutual benefits, like balance and health and wellness and mental clarity and all these other things, right? But you're protecting yourself. Well, it's the same thing here. It's like you want to become basically a martial arts expert online. And to do that, you need to protect yourself. So I'm going to show you some tips and ideas on how to do that. So instead of physical martial arts, I'm not talking about hiya punching people out for doing this stuff, although some people deserve they definitely deserve what's coming to them because it's horrible what they do to people. But so instead of physical martial arts or even mental mindfulness, which are very important as well. Those are very good skills that can actually help you live a happy, healthy life. Think of this as an online martial arts skill, preparing yourself and being aware. And the training is actually quite easy, which I will share with you. But before training, please keep this in mind. All these things. Assume the worst. Be in a state of awareness of at all times. Anytime you're on your phone, you're on your email, you're on an app, you're on social media, just be aware. Most people aren't aware. They don't pay attention. They're always clicking. Be aware of things. Understand very clearly that there are bad people out there that are aiming to cause a lot of harm to you or your loved ones. And that's a fact. That's what they're doing. There are people out there. There are actual bot farms. And what that means is that there's a place, a facility somewhere, usually in a third world country, but anyway, a place that has uh, bad people that are sitting there hacking and scamming and sending out thousands, if not millions, of messages to people trying to scam them and rip them off and make life a living hell for them. Now, it's important. It's hard to do, but kind of easy. Don't live in a state of panic or fear. I'm not telling you to, oh my God, oh, the world's coming to an end. It's simply be aware always. That's probably the number one tip I have here is just be aware. Be mindful of this. Be very, very mindful of this. And then the steps to protect yourself actually are kind of on the easy side. So information in general, I want to talk about information because it is not what it used to be. Okay. Um, we're used to it used to be limited resources of information, trusted news channels, word of mouth, books, encyclopedias, those types of things. That's how information used to work. But now there are millions of resources and lots of fraud, right? I mean, there's millions of apps, there's just millions of cell phone users, millions of websites, and it just goes on and on and on. And that includes a lot of I can't even speak, a lot of misinformation, hidden agendas, and change or shift in humanity, which is like you've seen that, right? Which unfortunately is riddled with violence and anger and hatred and those sorts of things. If you hadn't been paying attention, people get kind of grumpy about things. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. So just look at the recent election. Like you have two sides of a battle. Instead of seeing it as just different viewpoints and working together, it's like, I support this and I support that. And you get these horrible, violent arguments with people online. You can't trust anything out there on the web or on social media, okay? So just keep that in mind. And that's a fact. That's a fact. It's just out there, and I want to prepare you for that. We have to recognize that we have to work harder at looking for facts so that we can really grow together with quality information. And that's true. I want you to, look at something, take an interest in it, but then do some research. Look at different resources. If you're a news person, look at them all. Don't go to the main ones. CNN and Fox battle it out all the time, right? Go to all of them. There's Epic Times, there's Newsmax, there's CNN, there's Fox, there's Newsweek, there's BBC, there's and then all the major newspapers. There's a whole plethora of knowledge, but be smart about it. That's all I'm saying. Um, Training number one, assume all emails, texts, mail, videos, information, anything you see or get online is dangerous, inaccurate, and fraudulent. Just assume it right off the bat, okay? Just like the samples I show, man, they look real. So how do you know the difference? Scrutinize the hell out of them. Make sure you know your emails, and your texting and your phone calls. Make sure you know these people. Don't click on things, okay? Never trust what you see on social media, okay? Nothing. There are lies, misleading information, skewed views, and violent, angry, and even evil material. That's true. It's out there. Be very, very cautious about it, okay? However, be a smart student. Like I said earlier, do your research, explore, look into things that interest you, find multiple sources of information, and engage in the facts. Learning and understanding. It's really important to be a student. I think that's good advice any time in life is just to be a good student, okay? And do not trust AI, search engines, or any technology ever, okay? Ever. You're providing vital information to these sources, so be very cautious. I mean, every time you do an AI chat GPT inquiry and you're signed in and logged in, you're providing information. And did you know this? Not many people know this, but some people do, but not many, is that when you're engaging in a search engine like Google search engine or Yahoo, or you're doing AI like ChatGPT, they're not only getting the information that you're typing, but did you know that they get access to your computer? Sort of part of their terms and conditions, right? Their hidden terms and conditions to get access to some of the content and material that's on your machine. Did you also know that they're listening because of AI? They have, your microphones, your sound systems. Okay, if you have Google Home or whatever, that they're listening to things. Now, you may think, well, what's the big deal? Telling you until you get scammed or bamboozled, it's out there. So you got to be very, very careful and extremely careful. Training tip number two, I'm not referring to paranoia. Okay, that's a good point. Or fear, or not engaging in technology. Don't plug your ears and shut your eyes. I'm talking about practicality and caution. That's all. Just be practical and be cautious. Our humanity, our personalities, and our safety is of grave danger to be affected here. Okay. And I'm not trying to scare you, but never lose sight of your humanness and your ability to be careful and mindful. That's what happens is when we put our trust into these devices and our computers and our social media and you see the young ones like my kids are just sending out photos and whatever to everybody. You got to be careful with that. You got to trust your human heart and your ability to be emotional. That can work for you. I did a whole bunch of screen captures of frauds that I want to show you as well as examples. Again, there's a lot of evildoers out there doing bad things. You're going to see things like your Microsoft subscription has been renewed, okay? And it looks legit, like, oh, I have Microsoft, no problem, right? Yeah, wrong. Look at the renewal notice. It's coming from NOC at jmrab.edu.libya, LB, right? Yeah, okay. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to respond to that. Do not open fraud emails. Do not click on this stuff. There's an attachment in there, and that's going to cause all kinds of problems for you. There are some real bad people out there doing really bad things, folks. You got to be careful. If you don't know who it is, you're not sure who it is, stop and just think about it. If anything at all, doubt it, delete it, because if they need to reach you, they'll reach you, usually by mail or phone call or whatever, right? So that's one example. Here's another one. Review and sign documents. You get these by Sign Easy, and this one here was a fraud. It was a fraud because they even have the official looking criteria for Sign Easy. Wrong. It was a fraud. Social Security office. This one here is claiming to be the Social Security. It says, "Hi customer, Social Gene Spangler blah 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 has sent you a signature request." Who the hell is this? This is a big, massive fraud, and they're using the Social Security as a guise, and that's a federal crime, okay? But as I said before, unfortunately, government's not going to help you. Okay, here's another one. Updated employee handbook with a Microsoft Word document to open up. Look at this. Post office, urgent package delayed due to incorrect address. Click this. Don't click it. Fraud. Your storage is full. Campaigns at kagoya.com. Increase storage. You're going to click on that. No. Here's another one. Verifying my information at Intuit. Microsoft reactive. Look at that. They don't even have good English. Look at this. Hello, Todd. Password link to blah, blah, blah. Reactive same password. Give me a break. It would be reactivate the same password or something. They wouldn't even say that. It's just such garbage. Listen, folks, pay attention. You have to pay attention to this stuff. People are out there to screw you. So these are, okay, QR code, DocuSign. I mean, there's just more and more and more. I have so many of these frauds. DocuSign, inundated with this. These are all frauds, all of these. Look at Netflix, paying for Netflix. Look who it's from. Communication, novalacademy.net. That's not Netflix. They're liars, they're cheats, they're thieves, they're posing as PayPal and everyone else. There's a lot of fraud out there, folks, and I just want to steer you away from it. So please, for the love of God, be very careful about what you open and what you click. Training tip number 3. So simply asking yourself if you really need to use the app you're using. This is important. Look at all the apps you have. I do this all the time. I audit my apps all the time. And I look at them like, do I really need this? Do I really need all these apps? Or the device you're using, how often you use it, or divulging the information is necessary. Is it necessary? Stop and think every time you do something, because everything you do on a device, on a computer, on a phone, or whatever, it has the opportunity of increasing your fraud risk, right? Nobody cares about the purse snatcher until the purse is snatched. Nobody cares about the fraud until they're frauded, right? Nobody cares about health until they get sick. Don't be a fool. Don't be foolish. Be wise. Be smart. And just keep it in mind and be careful so that you try to avoid these things because they're bound to happen. Bound to happen. So let's dig into the critical training on being very mindful and very careful. Okay. Training tip number 4, scrutinize every single email and text you get unless you're 100% solid sure that you know where it came from. And you know what I mean by that because um, you can talk to friends, family, coworkers, so forth and so on, and you get to know what their emails look like and sound like, all that stuff, right? If you're not sure, then scrutinize it very carefully, review it, and don't click on any links whatsoever unless you're absolutely positively sure. Um, what's the harm in saying, no, I'm not going to read this or just delete it? What's the harm, right? Report scams, frauds, junk email. I show you in some of my video clips of how to do that whenever possible. But don't trouble yourself with it otherwise. It's actually easier to just delete it and be done with it. But if you can and you know how to report the scams, I would definitely recommend doing that as well. So, training tip number 5, I need to repeat there's fraud in every single place on every single device, every browser, every social media platform, and every email and every text application. It's everywhere. It really, truly is. It is everywhere. And if you're a fool that's falling asleep and not paying attention, you are an easy target. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Google, Snapchat, Instagram, email, messaging, apps, phone, text, hundreds of other apps, thousands of apps, all have scams running through them. Okay. There are actually apps out there. I was watching this horrifying video about so many apps out there are actually made to screw you, to actually tap into your information and get your information and sell it illegally. And what are you going to do? Call the apps incorrect police? That's what's frustrating. Man, think of all the evildoers. Do you really think they're going to avoid any of this? Do you think they're going to say, oh, we shouldn't do this? Do you think they really care about your feelings? No, they're working very hard at making lives very difficult by stealing and frauding people. That's what they do. That's why they call them fraudsters. They fraud people. You got to be aware of it and you just got to be upfront about it. Okay, let's go to training tip number 6. Remember that thing called the do not call list years ago? Gosh, our so-called government was promising to you get on this do not call list. That's a bunch of crap because I get more calls than ever. So how's that working for you? So just keep that in mind that you're inundated with fraud scams. Every time you give out your phone number, be mindful of that. You can't trust local or country run governments to protect you. There's fraud all over the world from every location, and that's true. It's everywhere, and it's very, very hard for government agencies to protect us. I wish they would, and I hope they take this more seriously. But just keep that in mind. The reason I'm telling you not to scare you is so you can protect yourself. That's the key. Okay. So I'll repeat. Application software, web browsers, operating systems. Businesses, companies, and governments can't fix this problem. They can minimize it and maybe help a little bit, but the bad guys are always ahead of the game. Always ahead of the game, and they do bad things. Training tip 7. Okay, so first of all, like I said earlier, consider whether or not you really need to have as much as you do, right? Do you need all those apps? Do you need to check hundreds of emails every day? Assess all the stuff you have, especially on your phone or online, and get rid of all the garbage you don't need. Get rid of the browsers you don't need. Get rid of the old files you don't need. Get rid of the links. When's the last time you looked through your browser history or all of your favorites? Did you know that when you save these favorites, those favorites can actually work through you, or when you accept cookies, when you accept things on websites, there can be web crawler, there could be all kinds of things in your computer. Okay. Go through stuff you don't need and clean them out. Decide which things are most important to you or your business. Okay. For example, in my business, I have a business email, I have a singular social media account I use, business cell phone, and a website. So I only maintain a strict number of things for the business, and it's the same with your personal life. You should do the same. For personal stuff, aim only for one or two at the most social media applications. You don't have to have them all. You really don't. You're opening up more opportunity for more fraud and more trouble, and you're complicating your life. Trust me. Minimize. Only use what's important. Um, you really don't need all those coupons and all the garbage that comes into your email. I know so many people, uh, thousands and thousands of garbage and trash emails that waste time and open up fraud opportunities. Eliminate it from your life. You don't need to sign up for the next best thing. You don't have to sign up for Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes and things. You don't have to do all that. You really don't. You're just giving your information away. Anything, your name, your address, your phone number, any of that stuff. The bottom line is to simplify. All right, there's way too much technological stuff out there. We need to simplify our lives. So getting rid of all the stuff you don't need is critical, and it's a healthy habit. And I want to show you an example of this email that I got, and this is an excellent, perfectly excellent example. I get an email from HR_center. Boy, that's not a red flag, right? Like, who the heck is HR_center? It's interesting, right? So you gotta look carefully at this stuff, folks. I mean, look at this. HR_center. It comes from. You have to look at where these things come from. If it looks fishy, it's usually fishy. But as I always say, scrutinize and analyze everything, but do it quickly, not in a paranoid, angry, anxious kind of way, but an aware kind of way, right? So I'm looking at this and I see it's coming from h.miyashita@kawasaki.co.jp. That's Japan, right? Now, I don't dare open this up, but I can certainly preview it very, very carefully. And it's asking me, it's telling me my salaries and vacation distribution strategy. Yeah, okay. They want you to take a screenshot of this QR code. Don't do it. Don't do it. You've got to be very careful, folks, because you take these QR code captures, like you take a picture of it or video of it or whatever you have. You may have an app to read a QR code, and man, it infiltrates. There are a lot of Trojan horses out there, and they'll infiltrate your phone, your computer, your network, your system, and just raise all kinds of holy hell. So if you don't know, see, I know Apple Podcasts, I can trust that. But this one here, I can't trust it. It's a fraud. I right-click it, and I'm going to report junk or phishing, or at the top here, this is, it depends on your email program, but up here I'm going to hit either block, which I could do, but I want to report. There you go. Just report it, and that goes on its way and reports to usually Microsoft in this case, and it'll send me a report telling me that it's looking into this or whatever. So be very careful with your emails. All right. Make sure you know every single person that's texting you or emailing you. Make sure you know them. Just like the sample I show where people pose as somebody else. And just be 100% certain who you're responding to every time. Make sure you know them. Make sure you know them clearly. And that's really the end of the story with that. Just make sure you know who you're talking to. The bad guys are so good at what they do now, and they can actually appear as a friend or family member. Happens all the time. So you have to be aware. I've gotten many, many, many frauds where there are people that use names of people I know. Make sure you recognize the phone number it's coming from or the email it's coming from, and certainly the person you're talking to. So look at the top of the email. Where is it coming from? Do you recognize it? That's really important. For example, on Facebook messages, I'll get a message from friends, right? You go over to your messages and texts or whatever, your direct messages, and it'll say things like, so let's take it. Here's an example. My mom texted me and said, "Hey, how have you been?" Right? Nice, innocent enough, right? Well, my mom passed away in 2020. So somebody's frauding, somebody's trying to use her name to contact me. It's sick. So you engage in a conversation, and imagine if you're a kid or a teenager. Man, oh man, they are bad. So be careful. So don't be fooled. Be wise. If a good friend wanted to talk to you, they'd call you. They'd text you, and they'd know something about you. Right? You know the difference. So be careful with that stuff. And then, consider asking for help. Sometimes it's hard to navigate technological waters. It gets really complicated. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay. And if you have any doubts, stay away from it. Get rid of it. Delete it. Report it. Just stay away from it if it seems odd to you. And never click on anything you're not absolutely 100% sure about. And double check and even triple check. Don't be afraid to be too careful here. And don't be afraid to say no or ignore. Just ignore things. Don't be afraid of that. No, you're better off assuming that it's bad and ignoring it or deleting it. And if somebody really wants to get hold of you, they will. Okay, but don't be afraid to call, but do not call any numbers that seem like they came from a fraudulent email or text. For example, if you get an email that seems like somebody stole your credit card, which I've gotten, and they give you a number to call on the email, don't call that number. Go to your credit card, call the number on the back of your card and say, "Hey, I got this email. I just wanted to check this out." Most of the time, in fact, most all of the time, it's a fraud. So don't follow those instructions on emails or texts. In closing, safety, security, protection, not panic. Remember before I mentioned, I'm not trying to scare you and say, "Oh, run for the hills," I'm just saying be cautious, be secure, be protected. And the bottom line is to protect yourself like an online martial artist. Okay, protect yourself. Being positive and grateful, confident, and excited about using technology because technology is obviously wonderful. You can do a lot of wonderful things with it. Um, but minimizing your risk by simplifying your life, cut down on it. You don't need as much as you think you do. Do your own research. Investigate all information yourself and ask for help if you need it. Okay. You don't have to do this alone. And if you have any doubts, ask. Just remember to be very, very careful and scrutinize everything you have and take each step very carefully. Okay. And if you do this, you will absolutely minimize your risks. So here are the positives. I want to leave you with some positives. There are far more good things in life than bad. That's true. I really believe that. There's way, way too many things to be grateful for. Prepare for the worst, yes, but always expect the best. Best. And yes, I spelled worst wrong. It should be worse. So prepare for the worst, but always expect the best. Okay. There are far more good people than bad. I truly believe that. It's sort of like a 95% of the world is wonderful and beautiful people, and the 5% have some real problems. Um, there are far more people that care for one another than not. I believe that. We all care for each other. We have love in our hearts and we have that capability. I think that's the best part of humanity. So fear not. There's a lot of wonderful, beautiful stuff with technology if we're careful, right? Technology is awesome. I mean, geez, think about the things we have today. It's awesome. But if we learn to be careful, that's all I'm saying, we'll just be able to live happier lives. That's the key here is just living happier lives. So those are some of my tips on watching out for fraudsters and scammers and all that. This particular example here is showing you messages. Okay, it's sending me messages. And this one here is a classic fraud text. Okay, there's three here, and I get a lot of these, right? Hi, dear, you haven't sent my photo yet, right? So I look at the number and I don't know who the heck that is. No idea whatsoever. You got to be careful with this stuff, folks. You got to be careful because there are a lot of fraudsters out there doing a lot of damage, and you want to be very, very smart and very, very careful. Now, on my phone, I'll see if I can do this on my phone in a separate video, but I can actually right click and do some stuff to report these frauds as well as block them. It's a little harder to do on a computer, but I just wanted to show you some of this stuff. My photo yet? You know how many idiots reply, Hey, who's this? Who am I talking to? You are now engaged with the fraudster that's usually in some foreign country somewhere, but not always. Okay. Here's another one. Look at this one. Amazon security notice. Your account is logged in from Mumbai, India. If this is not from you, please verify your account in the secure link below. Oh, okay, it's a secure link. Listen, don't be a fool, okay? There's no such thing here as a secure link. Man, these fraudsters are dangerous, vicious hogs. Horrible, horrible, horrible. So I click on this foof, whatever, right? I click on that and I am in big trouble. So do not click. Now, this is sent out usually by bot farms, usually sent out by computers, and they're a bunch of losers and maniacs and evildoers that send this out to millions and millions of people regularly. Bang, 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 bang. Think about how many people click on that and all the damage that's caused to bank accounts and to credit cards and to personal information. It's everywhere. Okay, that's one. Here's another one here. Okay, the toll roads notice of toll evasion. You have an unpaid toll bill on your account, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go to this secure invoice to pay. Look at this, secure.invoice, NECE, Nice Top Pay. Give me a break. What a bunch of crap. And this number up here, it's a fraud. It's a fraud number. It's a +63. That's an overseas thing. And again, these fraudster evil SOBs are causing all kinds of hell for all kinds of people. And there are many people I've known that have done this. And what have I done? Who do I pay? How do I pay? I can think off the top of my head 2 family members that have been frauded out of thousands of dollars with these types of scams. So please, please be very careful and scrutinize the hell out of all of these things. And, report these. I'm going to show you how to do it on your phone. But at the very least, delete them. Get them off your phone. Do not click on anything that looks suspicious. Trust me, if your bank or somebody wants to get hold of you, they will get hold of you. Okay, they're not going to send you these crazy, crappy, fraudulent deals. So be very, very cautious. But these are 3 great examples of fraud texts or messages that you can get that can raise havoc on your life. I hope some of it was helpful. Like you saw earlier, I'm attaching some of these video samples to help you through some of this stuff. Showing you on my iPhone, how to swipe and how to report spam and fraud and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I just wanted to share this information. I hope it helped, and I hope you're very careful. I hope you enjoy your technology, but please be careful with your technology and scrutinize the heck out of it, folks, because there's a lot of bad people doing a lot of bad things to a lot of good people. So I'll leave you with that. Be well and do your best to be very careful with all this technology. On an iPhone, on messages, how to report junk or to block somebody. I'm basically going to, let me see this. Okay, so I'm going to click on this, and up at the top of the phone, I'm going to click on the number and go to info and then scroll down. Oh, this is already blocked. I already blocked that one. So let me show you how to block the other one. Let's see, maybe I already blocked them too. So you click at the phone number at the top very carefully, go to info and then block caller. See at the very bottom, you see this red block caller. I'm going to block them, okay? So they're blocked. That's good. You want to block these losers. And so on messages, you can also swipe left here. So this is that fraud. Hi, dear, you haven't sent my photo yet. Yeah, okay, fraudster. I'm going to reply, oh, who's this? What photo? No, don't think so. You can click report junk at the bottom. There's a little button at the very bottom of this screen. Or in messages, you can swipe slowly to the left. Oops, swipe over here. See, sometimes you can get, all right, so sometimes you can actually delete like this, and then it'll ask you if you want to delete and report junk. Yes, and it reports junk. Or you can click on it and see this little blue report junk. We're going to delete and report junk, and voila, there you go. So now that's how you report and delete junk texts and messages on your iPhone.